Good evening and welcome to another edition of Ross Racing for all you race fans out there. I am Matt Harrelson. This is, of course, Russell Parker, and all of this is brought to you by The Rock, Rockingham Dragway. Also find it at rockinghamdragway.com. So it was an interesting week for sure out on the West Coast.
Yes, it was.
So with that being said, NASCAR hit the track in sunny Southern California this past weekend at Auto Club Speedway. Now, entering the week, Kyle Busch was at 199 victories across all NASCAR National Series. Yeah, this is the Kyle Busch edition. Now, the 33-year-old is heading back home with his 200th win, and it wasn't an easy ride for Busch as he came up short by just one position in the Xfinity Series race, and he found a pit road speeding penalty in the Cup race. But the Green 18 machine found his way into victory lane on St. Patrick's Day, and the celebrations began. So, Russell, we've talked about this guy reaching 200 for a few weeks now. Finally got there.
Yeah, he finally did. It wasn't a matter of if he's going to do it, it's a matter of when.
Yep.
And I predicted a few weeks ago he would get it before we came back to the East Coast, and he did it right there at Auto Club. Waited the last race, a lot of opportunity to do that. So, Kyle Busch is just on another level when it comes to just racing across all national series. I know I've ranted about him plenty of times here on the show, but hats off to him. He's a great driver. He prevailed from the back of the field after hitting that speeding penalty. Not many drivers can do that. Of course, he had some luck with a caution, but to come back through the field like that and to push forward and take a chance at the Penske guys who were running up 1 and 2 at a time, came through there and got them, and then just went on with it. Swept both stages and got the win. So overall, he just had a fantastic day.
Yeah, so before we jump into Kyle's 200 wins full throttle here, let's talk about the duo of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano, how they raced each other towards the end of the race, which with double digits left in a number of laps seemed kind of aggressive. But do you agree that was the case as to why Kyle Busch was able to score that win?
Yeah, coming off the restart, it was about 20 or so to go in it, and Logano and Keselowski raced each other really hard. It was similar to what you said in Las Vegas on the last lap. I think that they did race each other too aggressively, but with that said, I think it was just another matter of time where Kyle Busch was finally going to catch up to him. He had a fast car all day, and he was making his way up through the field, and they just let the opportunity for him to come up and take it away a lot easier than it would have been later on.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure by now everybody's kind of sick of hearing us talk about Kyle Busch's 200 wins. But guess what? We're not done. And, Russell, I know you went on a bit of a rant on Facebook about how the media has hyped Busch's accomplishments far too much. But you wrote the rundown for this show tonight, and still here we are, the media, talking about it. So I want to ask you, what does 200 wins across all 3 national series mean for the sport of NASCAR?
Hitting 200 overall in all 3 national series is a big deal. It's just, you say 200, when you put that number up on the board, people are looking at that. It's like Jimmy Johnson winning 7 championships. People are looking at that. Few people have ever hit 7 championships. Only 3 of them can say that.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Yeah, and with it going over to wins, you look at other guys out there who's like Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, those guys who have like about 90-something wins in the Cup Series. And then Kyle Busch comes along, and of course, forget the fact that he got him in two lower series. The fact that he got him overall is still a big deal, and it certainly has put all eyes on NASCAR right now. And you can look at every website out there. It's just Kyle Busch everywhere. It's overflowed with it. So I think that getting the stories out there about Kyle Busch and where he's come from up to this point shows that side of him where he's coming up through. He's made it. And, I think he's on his way to win some more.
It's definitely positive for the sport of racing. There's no doubt about that. So we've also talked in the past about Kyle being compared to the king, Richard Petty. But you and I and Joseph Lombard, what was that, last week, all said that it was an unfair comparison. So if not the king, then where does Busch stack up against some of the other legends of the sport?
Well, if you look at just the Cup Series alone, his next guy to come at him, I believe, is he can overtake Rusty Wallace and Lee Petty, who are sitting at 55 and 54, and Busch is at 53. And he's got a good chance of winning at Martinsville this week, so he could already match it up with Lee Petty. So, I think Kyle Busch is right there among the greats in terms of that. Probably you can argue he's the best modern day race car driver. The only one you can compare him to will be Jimmy Johnson, who's still racing when he's done. I think Kyle Busch would be that top dog. So, speaking of Jimmy Johnson, who has 83 wins, and Kyle Busch can easily take that in a couple of years. So, if Kyle Busch continues on the trend that he's going right now, he's already two out of 5 in the season. You're looking at least 8 more wins this season from him.
That's quite a bit. All right, Kyle Busch haters. This is where you can take your fingers out of your ears because we're done talking about Rowdy, or at least we'll be moving on to other drivers in addition, because with 5 races down, it's time to look at how the Monster Energy Cup Series standings look. So after Fontana, Busch took the lead in points, and with being a 2-time winner this season, also sits on top of the playoff bracket. Now, Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick are 2nd and 3rd, respectively, and Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski round out the top 5. So, Russell, as we look at the standings, any surprises you see in the top 16?
Eric Jones is one of those I actually kind of find surprising. He's sitting in 13th, so it's got a little low at it. But Kurt Busch is doing really good. I don't know if I should say surprised by him, because I expected him to continue to improve over the season. And he has been, but really fast, a lot faster than I expected him to, especially in that one car who we have not seen a lot of speed out of when Jamie McMurray was racing there. And, of course, Eric Almirola, the 10-car guy, who came from last year, the first year with a 10-car, and now has continued to make improvements on this season, potentially could win some races this season as well. And right now he's sitting 6th, which is one of the highest ones, I believe, outside of the winner. So doing really good right now for him.
All right. So what about those outside of the Sweet 16?
I actually expected Daniel Suarez and William Byron, who are 18 and 19, to actually be sitting more closer up inside of 16. But they're not. They're sitting outside, only a few points out, but it's not too bad. And Ryan Newman, who was 17th, just on the cusp. I actually expected him with an 8-car to potentially have a better season this year, but he is currently 3 points outside of the 16. So those guys, hopefully they'll improve over the season.
All right. So we noted earlier that Kyle Busch had somehow miraculously lost the race in the Xfinity Series at Auto Club Speedway. The winner ended up being 21-year-old Cole Custer in the 00 Ford for Stuart Haas. Now, the Ladera Ranch native scored his 3rd Xfinity Series in his 3rd full-time season, getting it done at his home track. So, Russell, does beating Kyle Busch to the finish line indicate that Custer has a bright future ahead of him?
He's already got a bright future. Right now, he's already living that future, I think. I mean, he led 29 of about 150 laps in that race. Driving for Stuart Haas Racing, you can't get a better ride in that next Xfinity Series except for maybe for Joe Gibbs. And he had a great season last year. He was runner-up to the championship. So, I mean, he's got a great future ahead. I think he's living it right now. Of course, he wants to get better as time goes on. But yeah, right now he is 4 out of 5 top 10s to start off the season, 3 for 5 in the top 5. Spectacular start to his season, and I expect to see him right there in that championship 4 when it gets to Homestead later on this year.
All right, so let's move on to one of our newer segments, drivers who are in the groove. Now, Fontana has many different grooves, but there's only one driver in the top 10 of the Xfinity and Cup Series who found his. Russell, who were they?
Well, for the Xfinity Series, I've got Chase Briscoe, who finished 5th. His best finish so far this season. He's improved every race so far this season. I think the only way he can go up now is up. So I think Chase Briscoe had a great future ahead of him just as much as Cole Custer. And, of course, in the Cup Series, you got Austin Dillon, who had the pole, which we had a crazy qualifying session, by the way, and nobody in the top 12 actually qualified. They kind of, because nobody ever scored a lap, but he got the pole for that to start off with, and he ended up finishing 10th, but he battled a sickness, and he spun out or had some car issues early in the race, but he came back from it, and overall, he done a pretty good job for coming back in that. It really surprised me how he did that race.
All right, in the groove. So, moving on. What do grandfather clocks and hot dogs have in common? It's not a joke, but everybody wants one when they come to Martinsville, which is exactly what the drivers are craving for this week as NASCAR heads to the paperclip. So, the trucks are back in action today, and the Cup race is gearing up for Sunday. Russell, what do you predict we'll see at the shortest track on the circuit?
Well, man, I'm going to be at this race here in a few hours, and of course, we'll be at the Cup race tomorrow, and I am so excited to be up there for that race. The paperclip is just going to be a spectacular. I mean, paperclip's always fun to be at, I think. I've never been there, but I'm about to find out.
Yeah.
So, I think the shortest track on the circuit, Martinsville, is a headache. It used to be the Goodies 500. And of course, the joke that runs at the end of this race, you will need a Goodies because you would have a headache from all the trouble you had. So I think you're going to see a lot of bumping, runs. You're going to see drivers getting aggressive. We saw this last year in the fall race with Joey Logano banging the doors off of Martin Truex Jr. to score his win and move on to Homestead. So I think you're going to see a lot of drama in this one. You're going to see some guys get heated with one another. It's going to be overall a fun day.
Absolutely. So definitely we'll have fun up in Martinsville. So I know you'll be looking forward to that. But if you're also in town, of course, you can be looking forward to what we're about to talk about now, and that is our newest segment, the Rock Block, brought to you by the Rockingham Dragway and RockinghamDragway.com. And I've got some information here about what is going on this weekend. So after a discouraging battle with Mother Nature, during which, listen to these numbers, it ran 270 gallons of fuel through its jet track dryer, invested countless man hours in an unsuccessful 18-hour effort to salvage the annual Racers Appreciation free entry event. Rockingham Dragway is going to try it again this weekend. So
it's a beautiful weekend.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot ask for a better weekend to go out there to the racetrack and see what's going on.
So the format should be one that's familiar to Carolina bracket racers. Admission is $35 today. It's going to and Sunday rather. So you get both days for $35, or you can pay $20 for just a single day. There's no additional entry fee in any category. With minimum car counts, the top ET winner each day is going to take home $2,000. With $1,000 to the foot brake winner and $150 to the junior dragster champ. Of course, rain checks from the previous date will be honored, so head on out there. In addition to those cash prizes, racers will also be competing both days for Summit Series and Rockingham Dragway Track Championship points. So
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Just like every weekend from now till Christmas, lots going on at the Rock. So, of course, that's brought to you by Rockingham Dragway, the Rock Block. So let's move on and let's play our favorite game, checkers or wreckers. You ready?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Up first, Kyle Busch will win 10 or more cup races this season. Checkers or wreckers?
Checkers. This trend right now, it's just got him moving on past 10 races. And there's so many races coming up that he can win at. I think he's probably got this format or this rules package. I think he's got it figured out better than anybody right now. I think he would have won at Las Vegas if it wasn't for the fact that he had a speeding penalty there. If he can just get past those speeding penalties, he will be fine for the rest of the season in terms of wins. So, yeah, checkers.
I find it funny that speeding penalty can be a downturn in NASCAR racing. You're speeding. Number 2, checkers or wreckers. There will be 16 different winners this season. Not the way we're going.
Well, I'm going to say I don't think Kyle Busch is going to let that happen. I don't know. I think there's been a lot of different drivers running up front, not able to close the deal at the end of the race, but they've been running up front. And if they can close the deal, I think we'll see 16 different winners this season. Right now, I'm going to say wreckers because right now we seem to have a kind of a top 3, top 4 battle here between Gibbs and Penske. I don't think it's going to change for the next couple of weeks, but maybe it will when we come up on some when everybody else starts figuring out the rules package.
All right. Moving on, number 3. Is it time for NASCAR to break out the next generation of race cars? Checkers or wreckers?
I'm going to say wreckers. I think that the carts are... No, actually, I'm going to say checkers because I think if you do break out the new generation of cars, it'd be the Gen 7. Something that team Roger Penske has brought up recently. It will help teams not have to spend as much money throughout the season on these cars and make them cheaper. Not have to have so many different parts. That's going to cost so much more than they already are right now. So I think having a cheaper car for them to use will save teams money and produce better racing perhaps as well. So I'm going to say checkers.
How much does, on any given race day, how much does one car cost to put out there?
I know we talked about numbers last season. I think it was about, I want to say it was, I can't remember. I keep thinking it has a 3 in it. So I'm thinking 30,000, but I think it's more than that.
Long story short, it ain't cheap.
It isn't.
Yeah. All right, number 4. Danica Patrick will be in the commentary booth on NBC's coverage of the Indianapolis 500.
I'm going to say checkers on this one because I think that's where her environment is. A lot of people don't like Danica Patrick in NASCAR, and that was understandably so. She's an IndyCar driver. She knows IndyCar. I think it's fine for her to be out there, although I'm already seeing many articles about why it's such a good choice, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking that it's going to get overhyped too much more than it already will probably be. So I'm going to say checkers. I think it's where she's going to be fitting in very well there.
Yeah, it seems like it'd be a good fit. And then finally, for checkers or wreckers, NASCAR lacks in personality.
Yeah, Tony Stewart recently made a statement saying that NASCAR lacks personality because there's so many young drivers that are 18 years old, graduating high school, getting into these cars, and they haven't really done anything other than graduating. So it's like, where's the other talent that's out there who works out every single Saturday night, working their way up the ladder, and they're not coming in and being able to make a name for themselves, whether it's because they don't have that name behind them. I'm just going to throw a name out there, Chase Elliott. I'm not dissing Chase Elliott, but that's his last name, Elliott. That he, in a way, it could give him the advantage over just some regular Joe who races every Saturday night. So I don't think there's a lack of personality. I think there are plenty of guys out there who have a personality. Ryan Blaney has he grows out a mullet and mustache throughout the season and shaves it off at the end of it. I mean, there's a little personality there. Kyle Busch obviously makes a personality. Kevin Harvick, those are the older guys. So you're looking at the younger guys. I think Chase Elliott probably needs to find a way to get his personality kicking a little bit better. He's got a lot of respect for being out on the racetrack, but I think he might have too much niceness to it. Or he might need to get a little more aggressive. But Bubba Wallace is another personality. I think he's great. He's hilarious. I think he's a good personality. He's probably need to show it better.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, it's kind of tough to do when you're inside of a race car though for 3 hours, 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon. So.
But Bubba Wallace, especially him, outside of NASCAR or outside of the race car interviews, he makes them really fun and entertaining to listen to. He is all about the sport. He loves it. So
just waiting for someone to do an interview afterwards and pull the Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands. That's always fun. Shows personality. So before we go, last thing we got to find out, man, who you got at the paperclip?
Well, Kyle Busch is the favorite,
right?
And not just because of what he's done recent weeks, but he's actually got the best. He's got the most wins, most wins at the track among active drivers at 2 in the past 10 years. Logano has a win, 4 poles, and Keselowski also has 6 poles, or 6 top 5s rather. Hamlin, those 4 guys, Penske, Gibbs. I mean, it's going to be 20 one of those guys. I'm going to say Joe Logano because I want to see this guy in victory lane in this race. Every time I go to a race, he always finishes like second or somewhere about like Rockingham at the truck race. He finished second. I went to an All-Star race in Charlotte, second place. Went to the 400, the Bank of America Road 400. Didn't finish where I wanted him to, so I want to see him win when I'm there.
All right, sounds good. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Ross Racing. We appreciate everybody tuning into this and every racing show. Of course, we'll be keeping you up to date with everything that happens throughout the rest of the NASCAR season. And I'm just going to go out on a flyer and say Kyle Busch will win. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that he's going to win since we talked about him so much today.
3 in a row, dude.
It's not unprecedented. So that's going to do it. That's Russell Parker. I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here next week on the track for more Ross Racing, brought to you by the Rockingham Dragway and RockinghamDragway.com.